All right, very well.
Yes, Judge.
All right, okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Melanie, for your Space 1 presentation. I'll move on to Space 2. Because of the data available to us, the trends will not be from 2005 to 2015, as the title indicates. So it will be from 2009 to 2019, with some exceptions, that, again, depending on how much data we have for each year. As before, this is just a snapshot of the trends. Take care to not assume that we can just compare each country with these spark lines, because the numbers are not, the scale is not the same. So this is just an idea of the trends and how much it has increased or decreased. So the same logic applies as for the Space 1 representation, where we can see, the red means it has a significant, what would we consider significant increase, green means a significant decrease, and yellow is more or less a stability. So again, take care, because as you can see, stability doesn't mean flat, but overall stability. We can see here that looking at this spark line, these graphs, we can see that there is not a clear pattern, that we have all kinds of trends in different areas of Europe. And then we have a small number of nations where the increase or decrease are remarkable, you could say. That is greater than 40% or smaller than 40%. I mean, decrease of or increase of greater than 40%. And this is 14 countries we have chosen to present. So for examples of decreases, of great decreases. So here we have Bulgaria. So we say the decrease from 2009 to 2019, staying below the European average and median. Just a note that when there's a gray column, it means that I had to do calculate and interpolate, because again, we do not necessarily have data for each year. Oh, wait. Oh, I think I made a mistake here. There was a... Wait, I don't know what I'm... Oh, this is very weird. I don't know why this is like this. Let me just... What is going on? Oh, I see now. Okay, so sorry. There's, for some reason, it's copied 2 times the presentation. One is in presentation mode. Sorry. So this slide actually has the percentage of decrease. So this is Bulgaria, has a decrease of 69%. Here we have Estonia, decrease of 52%, above, but the rates are above the European average and median. Here we have the Spain administration. We have a decrease of 42%. And here we have Switzerland, where we have a decrease of 50%, and we can see that it's very below to the European average and median rates. And 2010, because again, data availability. And we have 10 examples of remarkable increases. So the first example is Austria, where we have an increase from between 2009 to 2019 of 51%. Again, sorry. This is Azerbaijan. We have an increase of 157% from 2019 and 2019 with an interpolation in 2016. Here we have Croatia, an increase of 277% from 2009 to 2019, staying below the European average rate and median rate. Here we have Greece, 2010, 2019, interpolation for 2012. Increase of 155%. Here we have Italy. We have an increase to 144% between 2009 and 2019, staying below the European average and median rates. Here we have a graph for Lithuania. Again, sorry. We have an increase of 163% between 2009 and 2019. Here we have Moldova, 2009, 2019, but the last year has been interpolated with the data between 2018 and the latest report that still has to come, has to be published. So increase of 59%. Here we have Portugal with an increase between 2009, 2018 of 97%. Romania has a increase of 161% between 2009 and 2019. Here we have Serbia, which is an interesting case of a very large increase. And it is important to take into account that the Serbian probation agency is relatively new in terms of history. So we have a large increase here. And in terms of explanations, unfortunately, as you have noticed, I have been showing the graphs, unlike my colleague Melanie, who has provide explanations or, oh, this data could be explained by this and that. We have a less information for probation data and to understand the trends. So we are very open to any assistance or any ideas, suggestions, or how to explain these trends, especially in comparison with the prison data. So what I would be recommended is to keep in mind what you saw with the Melanie's presentation and compare with the probation data, because again, you should not, at least, from an empirical point of view, just compare decreases, increases, and make conclusions from that. You have to also consider what is the increase and decreases and what are the trends between probation and prison to make conclusions, to make meaningful conclusions. So here we have two examples. So we have here two cases where if we look at the prison data, there has been a decrease, but in Estonia, we have a decrease in prison rates, but we also have a decrease in probation rates. The rates are probationers per 100,000 people, inhabitants. And in case of Romania, instead, we have a decrease in prison rates and an increase in probation rates, which would be in a sense what people might think happens. So here we have in a sense, it's not less than I can really answer questions, specific questions about these trends. It's more like, here's the data we have, and we are very open to any compliment and any insight that other people can provide to us. And thank you for your attention. And sorry again for the confusion with the percentages. So that is all.
No problem at all. That was most interesting. We have a couple of questions, please. One from Natalie Grandi, who you might know of, from Switzerland. She says, you spoke about the general trends. For those countries where rates have risen sharply, have you observed a significant change in the proportion of inmates sentenced, especially for drug offences?
Oh, well, that I cannot really comment on that. I mean, maybe Melanie can help with the prison data, but because I personally do not have an answer for that.
Yes. If I can just say something for the prison statistics, we know that drug offenses are the category for which there are more prisoners sentenced for. But we have also noticed that in the couple of last years, this percentage tends to decrease. For example, between 2019 and 2020, we have a decrease of almost 4%. So I don't know if this answers at least partially your question, but we do know that there is a tendency to decrease.
Yeah, what I would just add is that this is not something we have looked into specifically, but it's something that we could take into account and consider in the future with the data we collected. But yeah, it's an interesting question, I find. I think Marcelo wants to speak.
Yeah, maybe I can add something. Here we are talking about stock data, persons that are in prison or on probation on 31st January. The stock is heavily influenced by people sentenced to long imprisonment sentences, and the main sources for that are violent offenses and drug offenses across Europe. And so the persons are sentenced for a long time and they remain in prison, and so you count it year after year, and the number, even with a stable number of people being sent to prison every year, as these people remain for a long time, they are always there. So a nice example of how you can change things, because the idea here was to see the impact on criminal policy also of these statistics. Melanie mentioned a change in the law in Spain in 2010. And this law abolished some minimum prison sentences for drug offenses, and also allows indirectly the expulsion of persons sentenced for drug offenses after they have served a part of their a large part of their sentence. And you can see immediately the effect that this had on the prison population. It was just a small changes in a change in the law, but it had a major impact on the long run. The thing is that in the current political tension that one can feel across Europe, these are not the kind of laws that are easily accepted. So from a practical point of view, the best solution is to have a general law that changes things, and then in one chapter there is a small modification, and this small modification can have a huge impact. But if you want to sell this, telling to people, let's reduce the length of the sentences, it will never pass.
Thank you, Marcello. We do have a couple of other questions that have come in leading up to our break at 10:02. A big one here: how do you project the trend of prison populations in a couple of years? That's a big one for anyone to take on. That's from Alison Simonti.
Yeah, maybe I can say something about that. So as you have seen, Space One, we have already published 2020, which is 31st of January. This is just before the lockdowns. So as some of you may know, we have been following up what happened during the pandemic, and we have made 2 publications in the series of Space, but specifically dedicated to that. And we will make a 3rd one probably by September with the whole year 2020. So there was an impact on the lockdowns changed completely the way in which crime was occurring. So they will probably have an impact, but we will see it more clearly in a few months. But for the question itself, it's very difficult to make projections, because when you studied, if you got a classic professor, she or he would have probably told you the Marxist idea that the prison is the reserve army of workers. And so with that classic explanation of Rusche and Kirchheimer, a financial crisis like the one that started in 2008 should have led to an increase in the prison population rate. But what you see almost everywhere is a decrease. This is completely against any prediction. So it's not so easy to make predictions in 2 years from now. Now that the lockdowns have disappeared almost in most countries, I don't see any reason for the current trend to change radically. Many people talk about the new normality. I don't know what that means. So let's see. Let's wait and see.
Yes, and yes, thank you very much, Marcello. That was a large question, but look, thank you very much for your rapid summary of the Space Statistics 1 and 2 over all subject areas, and we look forward to honing in obviously more on foreign nationals in specifically later on after the break.